I feel like the past 24 hours has just been a complete nightmare. 104% on imports coming from China. 104%. And that means my small business that I put everything into is fucking done. I quit my corporate job about a year and a half ago to chase my dreams. I designed and launched a kids fitness brand, and it was going great. I paid fair wages. I built relationships. And then overnight, the cost just more than doubled. My margins were gone. You know, my business doesn't pay for a yacht or a private jet. It pays for our daughter's swim classes. It covers groceries. It helps with babysitters for date nights. This isn't just numbers on a policy sheet. It's real people, real jobs, real families. And now I'm back at square one. So wish me luck.
You've probably heard beef prices are up because the market's high. Yeah, that's what they want you to think. But the truth, they're using that excuse to sell you imported beef at American prices. And here's what's really going on. The big four packers, JBS, Tyson, Cargill, National Beef, controls nearly 85% of U.S. beef processing. When cattle prices rise at the American sale barns, they use it as a cover, a PR excuse to jack up prices of retail beef. But here's the dirty secret. They're not buying that beef from American ranchers. They're importing millions of pounds of cheap foreign beef, grinding it, boxing it, and labeling it product of the USA. So while you're told beef is high because the market's high, they're selling foreign beef at the same inflated price as real U.S. beef and pocketing the difference. Meanwhile, the actual beef raised here by American ranchers, they're exporting it overseas for premium prices, while leaving U.S. consumers stuck with overpaid, imported garbage. It's a bait and switch, and you're paying the tab. When cattle prices are low, they say there's too much supply. When cattle prices are high, they say our costs went up. Either way, they win. It's not the family rancher driving up your grocery bill. It's the foreign-owned packing companies gaming both sides of the market. They've turned the beef aisle into Wall Street. The only real solution is to buy direct from American ranchers, from your state, from your region. Because when you buy from us, your money stays in your community, not some corporate account overseas. They'll keep blaming the market, but we know the truth. They didn't buy American beef, they just priced it like they did. They're exporting the good stuff, importing the cheap stuff, and charging you top dollar for both. That's not inflation, that's manipulation. And the only way to fix it is to stop feeding their system and start feeding your family from a real ranch.
So I'm in Argentina, in cattle country, a couple hours outside Buenos Aires. I'm at a small ranch, which is actually a breeding operation. They help other bigger ranches improve the genetic stock of their cattle. And I interviewed the owner of this operation, whose name is Martin Vivanco, and he said that he's thrilled about the idea of the U.S. dramatically increasing imports of Argentinian beef, which is something Donald Trump has said he wants to do. Martin said that that would be really good for business and that Argentinian beef producers have for a long time aspired to a bigger share of the American market. He also said something else interesting, which is that the beef that's produced here that goes back to the States is not generally mass market stuff that winds up on supermarket shelves. It's really high quality cuts that go to restaurants and caterers, hotels, high-end buyers. And that's because the beef here is just really high quality. It's all like this, like what you see behind me, free-range, grass-fed. The conditions here are perfect for raising really high quality cattle. So it's not likely that these increased exports from here to the US are actually going to really help the American consumer that much. They'll definitely help Argentinian cattle ranchers and exporters. On the other hand, US cattle ranchers are very much not happy about this idea, and my colleague Rosa Flores has been talking to some of them in Nebraska.
I'm Rosa Flores in Hershey, Nebraska. I spoke with 5 cattle ranchers in this area. They're all Republican. They all support President Donald Trump, and they say that they support a lot of his policies. They believe in America first, but they say that they don't agree with the president on everything. In fact, if I were to summarize all the conversations I had into one message from these cattle ranchers, I would say that they believe that the federal government should stay out of their business. They believe in free enterprise.
I agree with him on a lot of his issues, but on this issue, I would disagree with trying to, obviously do anything to lower the price of beef to the beef producers. On the other side of it, you would like to see, a cheaper food supply for the consumer, but not necessarily at the expense of the producer.
So in essence, President Trump don't interfere in the market?
Well, we don't. We appreciate all he does, but being in the market is probably not something we're very anxious to have the government in.
Some Republican lawmakers use the words strongly concerned to describe this move by the president. There's a rancher in Wyoming who used the word betrayed. The ranchers that I talked to here in Nebraska say that's too strong of a word. They say they would use disagreement. They say they don't have beef with the president. They just disagree with him on this.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Anthony, and it's always amazing having you here, my viewers, my subscribers, and ensure that you comment so that we can engage in dialogue about the issues that are affecting our country at the moment. So I really hate it when government is using the real issues affecting us, as a bargaining chip. I really hate it when government is happy when Americans are suffering instead of finding solutions. What's the role of the government if not finding solutions for the problems affecting our country? Abolish this government.
Go ahead, keep buying that imported beef if saving $2 is worth it to you. But don't complain when the local farmers are gone, the shelves are empty, and the only thing left is mystery meat from overseas. Well, Farm Table Meat Company, first off, just because something is not American doesn't automatically mean it's mystery meat, because I'm not racist enough to believe that. Secondly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around why farmers and ranchers are being so hateful to their consumers instead of the president they voted for. You only follow 10 people, and one of them is Donald Trump. So I feel like we can fairly confidently assume who you voted for. See, I voted for American farmers and ranchers. I'm just confused why over 70% of American farmers and ranchers didn't vote for themselves. Donald Trump is the one pushing for the increase in imports of meat from Argentina and other countries. Donald Trump is the one who was on the record telling us and all other consumers to buy Argentinian meat. And yes, we very well might buy other meat products that are less expensive because we have to. You're mad at the wrong person, babe.
They say that importing more beef keeps prices low for the consumers, but that's just not the truth. Since 2017, beef imports have gone up about 43%, and the price of beef at the grocery store has gone up 42%. So who's really winning here? It's not the ranchers, it's not the consumers, it's the global meat packers who are profiting. More imports don't mean cheaper groceries, they mean fewer American ranchers, more empty main streets, and less control over our own food supply. It's time to put American cattle industry first again. All we're asking for is a fair market and a label that tells the truth. Product of USA should mean born, raised, and processed in the United States of America.
Soybean farmers, you are about to be treated like a fool by the Republican Party and Fox News and some of the mouthpieces. You're about to get flooded with all this information about how Trump just struck this massive deal for 25 million metric tons a year for 3 years with China of soybeans, right? Trump saved you. The Republican Party just saved you, right? Saved your farm. You were getting 27 million metric tons. You were selling 27 million metric tons last year under Biden. He made a deal for less. And that doesn't even take into account the 6 months from May to October where there was nothing. You were getting paid nothing. The American Soybean Association estimates that soybean farmers lost an estimated $10 billion in those 6 months. $10 billion. 6 months of worry and fear and how am I going to make payments and what is going on by soybean farmers. And now Trump and the Republican Party are going to swoop in and say, like, look, we just saved you. They're the motherfuckers who took it away in the first place with this tariff war. They're the ones who made your life shitty and made you live in fear. Now they're going to give it back to you and expect you to cheer them and be like, thank you so much. I can't believe you saved us. They're the fuckers who did it to you. Right? It's like a fucking robber coming up to you and stealing $27 and giving you 25 back and saying, are you going to thank me? Like, what the actual fuck? So watch this. Watch. It's going to be all over Fox. They're going to say, like, look at this historic deal. Incredible for farmers. I can't believe what he did for farmers. It's less than what you were getting. And you lost $10 billion in the process. Just think it through. They fucked you over. $10 billion. And now they're giving you less than what you were getting. I would not be happy.
I warned you it would happen, and it just happened. Ground beef just hit over $6 a pound. That is the highest price in U.S. history. And steak, nearly $12 a pound now. Why? There are a few reasons. U.S. tariffs on Brazil. We get 33% of our beef from there. And making matters worse, we have the smallest cattle supply since the 1950s. There have been droughts, skyrocketing feed costs, and because of that, ranchers are selling off herds, so it's all dropping supply. Demand is still high. We still want our beef and our steak, so prices are exploding. That's what happens. Here's how to fight back. First, I want you to swap beef for pork or chicken if you like it. Still cheaper per pound. When ground beef does go on sale, buy in bulk and freeze it. It stays for a long time. And always check the unit prices on packages. Some brands can use this opportunity and start shrinking the amount you get, charging you the same, hoping you won't notice. That's for the prepackaged meat. So my advice, only buy the meat where you're paying per pound, and you can see exactly what you're getting right there on the label with the exact unit price. Bottom line, this is not just inflation. It's a supply mess. It's extreme weather. And it's some corporate greed, right? Plus the tariffs. Make sure to follow me for money-saving alerts and tips every single day right here, and subscribe to my Rossum Reports newsletter. The link is in the bio. I investigate, I take deep dives to keep money in your pocket and make you smarter.
So what I usually say is farmers, they are not poor farmers in the United States. You know, they are not stupid farmers in the United States. They always vote Republican so that they can avoid paying taxes on their wealth. That's the real issue. But when the government comes to power, they are the first one to cry. They are the first one to be affected by the government policies. You know what I mean? Because in 2024, Biden offered to bail out the farmers, but the Republicans voted against it. What is the sense? Why?
So Trump thinks that if the Supreme Court says he doesn't have the power to do what he wants with the tariffs, he thinks that means this country is going to hell.
What happens to your economic plan if the Supreme Court invalidates your tariffs?
I think our country will be immeasurably hurt. I think our economy will go to hell. Look, because of tariffs, we have the highest stock market we've ever had. Because of tariffs, 401ks at the highest level and this is millions and millions of people that we've ever had, 401ks. I think it's the most important subject discussed by the Supreme Court in 100 years.
You just have to ask yourself, who is allowing him to go on to CBS and make a complete fool of himself? This interview, honestly, it's one huge disaster for the Trump administration. If he thinks that is true, the country is going to hell, and if he really does think that we have all these record profits, then he's not paying attention. The rest of the country is very upset with Donald Trump right now. Federal employees getting fired and laid off, grocery prices going up, energy costs going up through the roof, and these military strikes illegally being done that almost getting us into a war with Venezuela, or he might even go as far as to do it. Yeah. And the gerrymandering, and the list goes on and on. Donald Trump needs to knock it off, and he really does need to, hang it up, because something's really wrong with him.
Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, went on TV today and announced that the U.S. Department of Agriculture is going to spend $100 million to convince Americans to buy more beef. $100 million to convince us to buy more beef, even as Donald Trump is going to be importing beef from Argentina. Beef that Rollins says is going to be used in McDonald's burgers and Burger King because it's low quality and not really something we would sell in our grocery stores. Rollins is going to authorize $100 million to convince us to buy more beef. $100 million that could go towards buying that beef directly from the ranchers, directly from the meat processing facilities, and sending them to food banks where she has been cutting benefits and food deliveries all year since the spring. Food banks have seen their deliveries from the USDA slashed by 75% this year alone. And Brooke Rollins, instead of helping them out, feeding the hungry, something that her department is actually tasked with doing, she's going to give another ad agency $100 million to convince you and me to buy more American beef, even as she imports Argentinian beef. I can't make this stuff up. As a reminder, anything I make for the next 5 days is going to be donated to a local food bank to help them feed the hungry because the government won't.
Just randomly, I started thinking about all the food that people like us, that people that were, lower middle class would eat and how expensive it is. And so now I'm going to list 10 foods that we used to eat as poors that rich people are making a ton of money off of and now we cannot no longer afford. Number 1 is oxtail. Originally, oxtails were given to enslaved Africans and was boiled for hours. Now they are a delicacy and served in many restaurants, not excluding Caribbean restaurants. And now it's $20 to $40 when it used to be $7 per pound. I remember that. Number 2 is oyster. In the 1800s, oysters were street food for the working class. They were cheap, they were fast, and they were plentiful. So then over-harvesting and pollution made them rare, flipping them into a luxury item served with ice and champagne. And also, people realized that it's an aphrodisiac and they can make money off of it, and now we cannot no longer afford it as the average working person. Number 3 is lobster, as we all know. We don't even need a backstory. Everyone knows prison food, and then they found out they could make it into something more delectable, and now it's astronomically high. Rice and beans is number 3 or 4. It was a staple for colonized, enslaved, and working class communities. Pork belly / bacon. Pork belly used to be cheap, fatty cut. Pork belly used to be a cheap, fatty cut eaten in rural South and Southern homes. Pork belly used to be cheap and fatty, and it was cut to be eaten in rural and Southern homes. And some chef somewhere, some genius, cut it up and started serving it in gastropubs, and we all know how expensive they are, and now it's expensive as F. Here's one I just found out about. Escargot used to be poor people food. So it says that peasants in France were gathering snails to eat. They were that hungry, and protein was scarce. And then the French nobles adapted it into their daily diet and transforming it into fine dining. One that shocked me that I learned about from a chef friend of mine was bone broth was another one. It was originally like a nothing goes to waste kind of dish. And it was made from like bones and other scraps. Now it's marketed as this wellness elixir that you have to have in order to heal your body and all this other stuff. Now it's wicked expensive. I went to Whole Foods. I know Whole Foods is expensive, but I didn't feel like it should have been that expensive when I seen how much it was. As we know, potatoes was a poor people food. Now it's wicked expensive. And the one that irks me the most is chicken wings, because chicken wings was like a Southern slave food or enslaved people food, and we were eating it for years. And remember, you used to get the entire wing, and you would get that with a plate of whatever, whether it was rice or beans. And now the powers that be cut the wing in half, and you can either get a drum or a flat, when you used to get the entire wing, and that was the wing, and now you get half of a chicken wing, and that irks me, and it's mad expensive. And another version of chicken that pissed me off that's expensive now is Cheeto chicken. Cheeto chicken used to be like a prison food / poor people food, but it was really for prisoners because they didn't have any seasoning. And now, if you try to get Cheeto chicken, it'll cost you like $20, $30. What? Let me know if you want a part 2 of this.
So thank you everyone who has watched this video to the end, and it's always amazing having you here, my viewers, my subscribers, and always ensure that you comment so that we can engage in dialogue about the issues that are affecting our culture at the moment. So let's make our analysis. We have a few corporates, running our grocery stores, running our beef industry, right? But when you watch in the 80s, in the 70s, what I usually hear, because I was not a grown up at the moment, I wasn't even born at the moment. People used to shop at their local stores, you know. People used to shop at their local ranches, you know. But now we have foreign companies even operating in the United States, you know. Foreign companies, you know, running our food industry, you know. What I mean? Why is that happening? Why is that happening? That doesn't even happen in other countries, you know. That's happening only in the United States, you know. We have billionaires buying these farms, you know. We have billionaires running these farms, these major farms, you know what I mean? So our farmers who mainly farm commodities to export, they are the first one to be affected by these poor Republicans, government policies, you know what I mean? And these farmers keep voting Republican. To what end? To what end? And what I usually say is, unless you have a massive number of lobbyists at Washington, why vote Republican? Why? These farmers don't have an organization. These farmers, most of them, don't have lobbyists, you know. So even what the farm, you know, the farmers, the corporates buy these products at fixed prices, you know what I mean? And if you watch the news, or if you watch these economics documentaries, or these economics vlogs, there is this issue of chicken farming, you know, whereby companies like Walmart, you know, they contract these farmers, they construct barns, and they rear their chickens, and then they sell to these corporates, you know. So I might watch these farmers are from Michigan, from all these states, you know, whereby this farming goes on. They're claiming that this process, this business wasn't profitable for them, and that there was these massive claims from these communities around them that these chickens, the smell is causing health problems to these people around them. You know what I mean? Some it's really bad. What's happening in our country at the moment? Because every business has been taken over. Every business has been taken over. The lobbyists at Washington, they are not allowing our members of Congress, we elected, our members of Senate, we elected, to make laws which favor us. To what end, Americans? To what end? To what end? To what end? So what I usually say is until the next video, watch blue, talk blue, vote blue, and thank you for your attention to this matter.